Welcome to another episode of Dinner with the Pattens. I am Michael.
I'm Justin.
And we're married. And today we have a very special guest with us, a dear friend of ours, winner of season 1 of NBC's Songland, Bahamian princess, all around amazing human being, Miss Tebby Burrows.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me.
We're so glad you're here.
Yay.
And because of her Bahamian roots, we were going to try and do some kind of Caribbean food.
But what they really got.
And so we were like, casabas or fried yucca. And we got some like Caribbean looking rice. And
Keyword Caribbean looking.
Caribbean looking.
And like, we knew plantains was a thing.
Yes.
But what were you saying before?
Well, I was just... that aside from the tortillas... And not roti. I thought that Justin meant roti, but when I looked in here, they're actually tortillas, and we don't. I mean, that's not a.
That's not a Bahamian
We
thing.
also don't eat black beans like this, or we have either peas and rice or rice and peas, depending on where you are.
Is that a difference or?
Yes, it's a difference.
Interesting.
It's like Bahamians do peas and rice, Jamaicans do rice and peas, which. For Jamaicans, it's the kidney beans, and so really it should be beans and rice. And
that's what I'm picturing green beans or green peas.
No, the kidney beans, and then Bahamians do black eye peas
And rice.
Yes, nobody except for our friends in
Mexico.
Colombia, Mexico, and every other one that's not Caribbean. That's how you spot it. She says, oh, yes, we have Caribbean food, and then you look and see black beans, tortillas.
I'm like, so we ordered this, and I'm not going to even say the name of the restaurant because I don't want to put anybody on blast, but I was like, there was a lot of like Hispania type stuff, and I was like, well, I guess they're similar, so we're going to order, and then she was like, we eat plantains, so that you got that right.
Yes.
And the casabas.
Yes, we do.
But then she was like, this is fajitas. And
they really actually made you a fajita assembly. They really just didn't want you going down to Inglewood. They're like,
that's what it was.
Because there is a great Caribbean oxtail, wonderful place in Inglewood, but that was so far from where we are.
I know.
But we tried. I didn't even know anything about peas and rice.
Peas and rice.
Like, because the other alternative, the other option that we were going to do
not allowed
was because she's moving to London, and so we were going to do
beans on toast.
Beans on toast, because apparently
you texted me. I was like,
British people apparently that's like the staple dish.
Beans on toast.
And I was like, we'll have beans on toast, and she was like, no.
Because I don't even understand. I get it. They have beans with breakfast. That's like a standard.
Right.
Beans, hash browns.
But is it like our hash browns? Like
no.
Shredded or whatever? Yeah.
It's like the McDonald's hash brown.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Huh. And
they're
put
all
it on
the same. And
beans?
they have it with beans and sausage and eggs and toast.
Huh.
And
it doesn't sound...
It's not bad.
Well,
it's
when I said
beans
it was like
on toast
beans
still sounds weird to me, though.
Oh, do they just do beans
it's
and
just
toast?
like
Toast
baked
with
beans
beans on it.
Disgusting.
And she was like, no. And I was like,
you're going to have to eat it, though.
Never. Luckily.
We'll get back to London, though.
Yeah.
So, kind of getting back on track, one thing we like to do when we have guests is ask, how do we know each other? How do we meet?
How long have we known each other?
Yeah.
10 plus years.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
It's about 10 years, yeah.
I think we've said 10 years. We were saying 10 years for over 10.
Yeah.
I think that's just the thing that we say.
How we've all
years.
been 30 for
Exactly.
4 years.
Exactly. We've been saying, we've known each other for 10 years. plus. 10 plus.
Yeah. So 10 years ago.
Yes.
How did we meet?
So, oh my gosh, I wish we could just hold the poster. This is us. This is our family. Okay, so we met on an episode. Well, we were shooting a season of Yobi TV.
New stage.
Yeah. And you were one of the actors, and you were one of the cameramen. And actor/singers, and I was an actor/singer, and it was a songwriting competition.
Yeah.
Singing competition. And it was online, like before. Was The Voice and all of those out yet?
No.
So this was
American
like
Idol.
American Idol.
American Idol. This is the
Because
only
the
one.
show was kind of a spoof on that. But just even the fact that they were like, these online internet singers can now act in this show. So
crazy.
wild to think about.
Well, it wasn't like we were acting opposite someone who was a spectacular actor.
That's
Because
true.
the show starred Mike the Situation.
The Situation, literally, like Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
Like that was their...
and it was his like first scripted situation.
And probably his last, no?
Yeah.
No, I think so. Yeah.
I think that he hasn't, yeah. And it was an experience, but we clicked. Like
Yes,
I think
immediately.
that we just like we loved each other and like have been friends ever since. Like when we moved here, because we moved to LA probably shortly after.
Right, yeah.
We wrapped
Because
that.
you guys were saying that you were moving to LA.
Right.
Yeah.
And ever since we moved here, we were trying to get her.
Every
to
time,
move.
when are you moving? When are you
moving?
I'm like, I'm coming.
And
Because
so
that was back when she was like, I'm a business person.
Literally, I
And we
was
were like,
working
no,
in
you're
marketing.
not, Tebby.
Like, just
I mean, you
come
may
on.
be great at it, but we know what you really are.
like, we know you actually want to live in LA and be an actor.
I know.
So just come and do
Just
it.
come and do it. And I was like, oh, I'm thinking about it. And then fast forward, I made a few trips up here
Yeah.
sporadically.
She dipped her toe in the water.
I dipped my toe in the
lot.
LA
Why are we
water.
not eating
Oh,
the food?
okay, yeah. Okay,
Let's-
wait.
I was going to say, let's get
Cheers.
the food.
Oh,
out.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This is fabulous, obviously.
I mean,
your cauldron. I say
For those who can't see, we have glasses and
I have a
Michael
goblet.
Michael has a goblet, like literally from
Like
Medieval.
Harry
Joffrey
Potter.
from Game of Thrones. I'm actually going to try one of these tortillas.
No, after you've been talking shit.
It's probably really good. I love Spanish food.
Yeah, Spanish food is great. It's not Caribbean food.
No, but it's
So now-
fact.
now
This
we
is
know.
Literally fajita. I can't believe they played you.
Hard. But we're glad that we got you on here because
no, I'm leaving.
she just moved here, guys. Like she literally moved here probably 2 years ago,
2019.
2019. But like she was gone all of 2020, and so like, but she's moving to London.
Yes, for a little time. Well, I'll be back.
She says she'll be back, but if we know anything about Tebby, she could be somewhere else by this time next year. Not even London.
Fair.
What? So, but like, what's taking you to London? Tell the people.
So, well, it's twofold. My boyfriend is from London, and his family lives there. He didn't even live there. Like, he lived in Dubai. But then, obviously, during COVID allowed us to kind of be everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then he decided to come. He was going to move to LA, obviously, because I'm pursuing acting, and Dubai's far, and we don't want to do long distance. But then I, of course, had a bright idea. So we packed up everything and moved to Dubai. Moved from Dubai to LA. And then about a month ago, I was like, wouldn't it be cool? Because we were going to London to be with his family for Christmas. And I was like, what if we moved to London for a little bit? Because we've been kind of like staying different. Yeah, like we were in Mexico for a little bit, and then
Very
and
charmed life.
around.
well, and it's mostly because he can't stay in the U.S. for forever because he's not a U.S. citizen. So we were looking, and we didn't want to be apart. So we're like, okay, where can we go to stay out of the U.S. but close enough, whatever. And so during COVID, I started taking acting lessons with IDSA, Identity School, and they're based in London.
Right.
And so I was like, well, it's all been virtual. And I was like, well, what if I did a semester in London, physical, since you're from there, and, sounds like a great idea. So then he's like, okay. So then we decided we're going to move to London for a few months and do IDSA does have a campus here, but the original campus is in London. And I was like, that sounds much cooler.
I mean, you've got the connection already.
And she's like, I want to go to the original school where who graduated from there?
Jean Boyega.
Jean Boyega.
You're right.
So she was like, that sounds better. That makes a better story, which I think is why Tebby and I connect, because I think we both live our lives in ways that are like, this make a great story.
This is a good story.
This is a good story. I think I'll do it.
You are the author of your story, so
exactly. And I think that's where we connect, and we, you know, we're doing this dinner with the Pattens and Tebby, but we hang out all the time, and we have lots of very good conversation as a result of the fact that I think that we all share a very similar life philosophy in regards to, you know, just this is your life. This is your life, the life you have right now. So like, go live it. Go do the things that make you happy, versus feeling like, oh, I have to, you know, work this 9 to 5, or I have to like do the things that everyone says are set aside for me at this age and at this age.
Or like, I've only been in LA for a year, so I should stay. And I'm like, well, no.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. You can should yourself to death, right?
Right.
So you kind of have to follow your, as Mama Oprah says, all you have to do is ask yourself, what is the next right move? Because if we start thinking like too far ahead, when we don't know the answer, it can get us in a state of like paralysis, and then we start questioning. But if you just focus on what is the next right move, then you center yourself and you say, and you're clear with that. And then once that happens, then you move on.
That's true.
Right.
Plus, a lot of boy bands would go to England and get famous first. So,
Is it real?
yeah. So you're following. Well, they go, you know, Europe, England. So you're following in the
Guys,
steps of greatness.
I just need some like positive energy that like me and Ed are gonna collide. We're gonna need to have a writing session.
He does bop around that island a little.
Doesn't he live here though?
Adele's a lost cause. But does he live here too? She just moved here.
Oh, maybe he doesn't live here.
No, she lives here.
She
Which I was
does
just
live
like,
here.
I was like, no. I mean, not that I was gonna run into her at a grocery store, but you never know.
You never know.
It's
But
England.
now she lives in Beverly Hills.
Now you'll run into her at Erewhon.
Facts. You know, someone ran into Angelina Jolie at like a Gelson's.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a Gelson. Well, I don't know if they still go there, but your friend John Legend, he used to. I don't know if he still does, but he used to go to the Gelsons down Laurel Canyon.
Oh wow.
I mean,
Chrissy.
Tiffany? Who is Tiffany?
Him and Tiffany Haddish.
But so you're going to London to study acting for a few months, and we're gonna come visit you.
Yes, please.
Well, if we can, I don't know.
Yeah, there's COVID. But
Omni,
I think
omnipresent. What is it called? Omni, the new one.
The new
Omnicom.
one. But there's also, you just launched or released a new business, released a new product. Tell us about that.
So, I've always loved affirmation cards. And this year, for some reason, I ended up having a lot of conversation with different parents. And parents of children of color, and parents who have young kids. And they were kind of just talking about the challenges, the joys and the challenges of raising kids, especially once they get into school. You know, whether it's one of Richard's friends, her daughters go to school in Dubai, and so it's not a lot of kids that look like her. They're, you know, Nigerian and Jamaican, and there's like two kids in their school that look like them.
Right.
And talking about that, even though Dubai is very diverse and welcoming in a lot of ways, it's still different when, you know, you have young kids who are kind of now just seeing the world, and what does that mean, and what does that do to themselves. And we just started having a lot of conversations, and I'm like, wow. And especially, obviously, all the things that were going on 2020 with Black Lives Matter and people randomly killing people on the streets because apparently we still do that. And so I was like, I wanted to create a way for parents to instill those sort of fundamental building blocks of self-worth, compassion, kindness, those things that like I've learned, we're all kind of very focused on bettering ourselves and figuring out how do we be the best people that we can be.
Right.
And so how do you distill those lessons that I've learned along the way from Oprah and Deepak Chopra and all these people that I've been like, how do you kind of condense that for kids? And but a little bit more than just I am confident, I am those things. Like, okay, like how can I say a little bit more without saying something that's going to go over their head?
Right.
And so I started, and Richard and I were talking about, and he's like, he actually came up with the name. He's like, I was like, what do we call it? I said, My True Reflection, because the whole thing is when you're looking in the mirror, it's really important that you see your true self. Because when people tell you things, when you experience things, we can get distorted. You can think that you're ugly, you're not good enough, all these things. But if you do the inner work early,
right,
then when you look in the mirror, you will see your true reflection, which is greatness. Like, you know? And so I started writing. I would just start jotting down and reworking all of these affirmations until I came up with, I condensed it to 30.
Okay.
Now, which I hope to like make more, but I was like 30 seems like
that's a good one. It's one a day.
Exactly. This was the thinking. And I've just been working on that. Like, I would go into spurts where I'd write them, and then I'm like, how do you say this? How do you say this to a kid? But then someone told me something really important. One of my friends in Colorado, she has 2 kids, and she was like, she has they're 5, I think 5 and 6 or 4. Yeah, 5 and 6. And I was like, how do you tell, like, if they get mad at each other, how do you tell them, how do you explain it to them? And she's like, honestly, she started telling me. And then she goes, but sometimes I realize that you just got to tell them. Like, kids are smarter, more perceptive than we give them credit for. And sometimes you don't need to dumb it down.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to say it. And then if they have a question, then you can clarify.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, that gave me a little bit of ease. I'm just going to
say it.
And the whole point of
My True Reflection.
I love the box.
Thank you. The whole point is for parents to be involved in this. It's like this is supposed to be a morning, afternoon, evening moment where you can read it along with them, pick a card a day, and then just explore what it means.
What's your favorite card in the deck?
Ooh, my favorite card is probably...
Oh, that's high quality stuff right there.
They're gorgeous.
Thank you. So I think actually probably this one. Maybe. I have a few. I'm one of a kind. I am uniquely designed, and I have a right to be here.
Oh, wow. I like that last part's a little punchy.
Yeah, because I feel like we kind of live in this world where people, for many different reasons, cannot feel like, because I'm different, and you may not be different from everyone, but maybe you're just different from the people in your immediate area, your immediate world. And then suddenly you feel like I don't belong.
Yeah.
So it's like, whoever you are, just know that you have a right to be here.
Yeah. That's really good. That's powerful for a kid, especially a child who's a color, who is bombarded every day with all kinds of things that tell them the opposite.
Yeah.
I think that I count myself fortunate, and I'm sure that you do as well, that we were surrounded by parents and family who were always reinforcing the right that we have the right.
We have the right to be here.
We
can take up space.
We can take up space, but there's people who don't have that luxury that are being told that they don't have the right to take up space. For generations, we've been told that we are supposed to stay to the shadows and in the corners and against the wall and be quiet and not drink from that water fountain and not go to that restroom and not go to that restaurant. And we need that. We need these kinds of reinforcements, especially as kids, to say, you can sit where you're sitting. You can take up the space in the room. Like, you belong.
Yes.
And I think what you're doing is beautiful.
Thank you.
That's gorgeous.
'Cause if you start young,
Yeah.
that's a thing, right? Because I think we've had to, and everyone will have to go through their things, but like when you have the foundation that says, that validates you, then when people start saying things or you start questioning because of whatever, you can go back to, you have that foundation, you have that bedrock that doesn't get shaken,
Yeah, that's good.
Well, that's great.
So
And I love that it helps parents be more intentional as well, because some people are great at, like, naturally inclined to that, but I think most parents have to figure it out.
Yes.
And so anything that helps parents intentionally make time to be with their children and work through especially these kind of things is a great tool.
Thank you. And some parents don't, if you think about it, some adults don't even have the time or like you said, the resources to deal with their own stuff.
Right.
And so they just kind of are being good parents, but they don't know how to be intentional about certain things, or they just don't.
Right.
And so it's like this kind of will hopefully give them,
Yeah,
That's
it's
really
a great tool for sure.
Yeah.
And then they look great. Like
Thank
the cards
you.
are fun and
Bright and colorful. I think that's perfect.
and they're all caps too. The letters.
They're all caps,
which is
so you,
great.
like-
So you can scream it.
So you can remember. And I did some that are just like one words or two words. Like I did the love, like, and because this is the last card. And I think that this is important because I was like, what do I say about love? Because that's just that's a whole deck.
Yeah. So notice it says love on one side. What's it say on the other?
So yeah, each card has a reflection. So it's like of the statement. So I wanted to give some more, even parents, give them a little bit ammunition to how, what does this mean? How do we go deeper? Like, what's the reflection on this statement?
Or like actionable.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
What can you do? Like, whether it's gratitude, okay, what are we going to do about it? Or whether it's be kind, always ask yourself,
Well, I have a 9-year-old niece and a 5-year-old niece, and I'm definitely going to get a couple decks. My sisters, they're great with my nieces, but I think you having any kind of...
It's just, I mean,
any
think
kind
about
of
it.
extra...
It's like, I journal. I have my own affirmation cards. I'm like, you just need a lot. This world's a little,
This
And
world
I-
can be a lot.
And like
It can be a lot.
looking at the cards, like they're things that as adults we need to be reminded of.
No,
you
that
know?
first card had me tearing up a little. I don't want to put my junk on it, but I was like, wow, I could have definitely used that. Could
That's
still
the
use
thing.
that, yeah.
It's like, even you think about, like, I know the journey that I've been on. It started, and my parents are amazing.
Right.
But there's still so much that we didn't. So I had to, 3 years ago, I had to realize that I didn't know my worth.
Yeah.
Like, what? I thought I was super confident,
Yeah.
and then I was like,
I'm an
wait.
adult.
I'm an adult. I'm like, what? I don't know. So it's important to, if we had
Right.
the things that we do now to give to ground ourselves
As children.
we'd be unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
And we'd be taking over the world.
I think this is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think you said something very interesting about your journey and like the things that you've implemented along the way, and to kind of reinforce the things that you were given as kids, but also things that gaps that were there. But since we've known you the 10 plus years,
10 plus.
I think that you've been a lot of different places and done a lot of different things, and have grown in a lot of different ways. The Tebby that we met at Yobi Take a New Stage is a completely different woman than who's sitting right here now. And I'm curious what you would tell your 10 years ago self today.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
No
I'm just
comment
kidding, I'm just
needed.
They know.
We've all
They
been
know where all the
there.
bodies. They know where all the bodies are buried.
Yeah.
Don't do
Don't
it.
do it.
And that is applicable for every adult.
Every adult. I think Justin actually told me that once. You have to have told me that a few times. He did tell me.
He was like, don't do it,
Don't
girl.
do it, girl.
You're in danger, girl.
Danger, back up. Abort mission. I think I would tell her, oh gosh, one, know your worth. Because I think she thought she knew what she was worth. But then clearly things happen and then you're like, oh, wait. So I think I would tell her, know who you are, get to know who you are and know your worth. And not just know who you are in terms of what you like and dislike, but like the individual, your values. Because I think especially for me, I grew up in a very religious home. Like, so I thought that I understood values. I thought that, we're just ingrained. Yeah. We think we know. And I did to some degree. But again, because you're not exposed to a lot of things, you don't question certain things the way they need to be questioned, because if you've never seen something, then you might like, all right, if you've seen like a poison berry, but if there's a poison berry in front of you and you've never seen it before, you can be like, I mean, it looks like a berry, so right? Because you don't know any better, because you haven't been exposed to certain things that would tell you, outright, this is probably not good. So I think I would tell her to really get to know herself and her spiritual relationship, with God on a deeper level. And then I'd also tell her to relax. Relax. Like, it's not going to happen the way you think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Relax, but keep moving, right? Because it's like do your thing. Yeah. Do your thing and work hard, but also chill.
Yeah, chill. Don't stress
about it. Right? Like, do work. Don't be lazy. And
but enjoy the journey.
But enjoy the journey. It's gonna work out. It's not gonna work out the way that you think. And people always say that. They always say, it never turns out the way you think it's gonna turn out. But you don't really hear it.
You don't want to hear it.
You don't want to hear it. You think, oh, that's their story.
That's theirs. I know that's what I said.
But for me, it's gonna work out exactly like I
right.
And, because even, for example, I had auditioned in college. Like, I always knew I loved music and acting and all that stuff. And I was like, I had this goal after I got back into music full time, and I was like, I'm going to get on, The Voice? Get on The Voice, I'm going to get in, and then I'm going to move to LA. Like 6 years ago. And I auditioned. I auditioned online, so I didn't even it was already, first it was America's Got Talent. That was the first one in college. And they called me, I auditioned online, and they called me, and then I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. And then I went to the audition, nothing happened. And then a few years later, I auditioned for The Voice, and I was like, you should see in my journal, going to Houston or Dallas, I can't remember what it was, Houston or Dallas to audition. Then I'll go into the semifinals, and I'll pack up everything. And didn't happen. And then when it didn't happen, I was like, oh, I was so sure. Now what do I do? And I could have gotten stuck. I could have gotten, said, okay, this is not for me.
Right.
And then thank God that I've kind of always just been, I never really swallow.
Yeah.
I've just kind of been like, all right, well.
Right.
So I had a moment where I was just like, oh shoot, that it didn't turn out the way that I thought it was going to. So now what do I do? So then I kind of, as long as I kept moving, doors kept opening in different ways. And then a few years later, 6 years later, Songland.
Yeah.
I was like, I knew that I was going to be on TV. And I knew it was going to be a show. But I thought it was going to be 2 shows ago.
Right.
But it turns out the show that I was going to be on hadn't even been created yet.
Right.
And
that's a really good lesson to learn. I know for myself, I've often found myself in positions where I call them the almost moments, where it's like, this almost happened, or like I did a series by the same production company from New Stage called Take the Stage. And my journal was very similar to yours in that moment where I was like, oh, we're being coached by Johnny Wright. He's the manager of Britney and Justin Timberlake and all these big pop stars. And I was like, he's going to take me under his wing and launch my career. And like, it was a great experience.
The whole story. We created a whole story.
We created a whole story.
Love to write stories.
It was like a great experience, but that's where it ended in terms of, like, he didn't call me afterwards. I didn't win. And so, but it was, and so I had to, it was a shock. Like, I felt gutted for a while there, but then I had to learn how to take what I learned in that experience and apply it to the next step, and the next step, and the next step. Yeah. And I think the biggest lesson that I learned through all of it was just enjoy it. Yeah. Like, just enjoy it. The doors will continue to fling wide open as you enjoy walking forward.
Yes.
And it's beautiful.
Yes.
It's not easy.
No. No. It is not easy, and sometimes it can feel like, just feel like it's there. All the doors are closed, or you can genuinely not know what. Like, it's scary to not know what's next. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like,
oh my God, yeah.
So and I think it's okay to. It is important to plan and visualize and have a vision and all those things. It's very important. I think that vision boarding is something that I would also tell my younger self to start doing earlier, because I do it like crazy now, but I didn't do it back then.
She has vision boards for like what she wants her apartment to look like.
I do. It's a lot. I kind of have a problem. I remember I actually did one of my best friends, Neela, she's like, can you come and teach a class on my Instagram about vision boarding? Because I've seen your vision board and it's not what everybody else is doing. I thought that, because I'm in marketing, and I've done so many pitch decks, business plans and all these things. I was like, corporations have these elaborate,
vision.
What's your mission? What's your statement? All these things, Right. And so we should. So it shouldn't just be pictures.
Wait, we need to have a conversation outside. Like, that's good.
I'm like, if a corporation, our lives are like, if you think about it, just like a small business that you want to blossom into an amazing, focused company that's making an impact, and however you want to make an impact, then your vision board should reflect that.
And that's probably how we got from thought to my true reflection.
It's true.
I love it.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to finish our meal here, our dinner with Tebby, but before we go, Tebby, can you tell the people at home where they can find you on the internet?
On the internet? Oh, that's about to be the metaverse.
The metaverse.
Can we talk about NFTs and all those things afterwards?
Yes.
Because I'm just so confused. The first time that I stepped into what's it called? The augmented was at your house with those augmented glasses, and I'm freaked out, and I need to understand. But anyways, they can find me at Tebby's World on Instagram, and then you can find My True Reflections at My True Reflection on Instagram and mytruereflection.com.
Love it. So we're gonna go.
We're gonna finish eating our Latin
Latin Caribbean food.
Latin Caribbean.
But everyone at home, you go and have dinner with someone you love.
Yay. Oh, this is so